Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns. Today, we are going to preview the 2025 postseason. My name is Tyler. Joining me, as always, Will, John, and Bobby. Boys, we have made it to, well, I was going to say we made it to October, not quite yet, but we did make it to playoff baseball. The teams are set. The heartbreak for some teams as they miss out in the playoffs. That's fans.
That's
And,
Oh, the crash out is real
and
in Queens.
it is. And the Tigers fans can't be happy how they got in, but they're in and they have a fighting chance, I guess. But
You're
yes,
not
we're
going to
going
donate
to.
anything in the name of Tyler towards
Yeah,
Boston.
I unfortunately couldn't make it last episode. But I got a lot of heat for not backing my Tigers after my bold claims
Yeah,
in
As you should.
2024.
you
And
still should have.
and you know what? I think there's a little bit of validation in that. I'm just saying. Like,
Absolutely not.
they were
They
a
still
game.
made the postseason.
They
You
were
had them fourth.
and they were a game away from missing the postseason.
Oh, I'm not saying it wasn't close, but in the end, you were wrong.
I was wrong.
All I'm going to point out is their playoff status did not hinge on game 162, unlike other teams.
No, but man, it got way too interesting for them.
By
Yeah,
Esther.
so we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk them. We're gonna talk obviously all the matchups, and kind of how we got here in the first place. I mean, of course, a lot of stuff has been somewhat set for the last few weeks. In terms of like, we kind of knew the Brewers and the Phillies were going to be the 1 and 2 seed in some capacity. The Brewers end up winning that, so now they have even more pressure on them to perform in the playoffs this postseason. But we've had that on the AL side for a while. It looks like it was going to be Red Sox, Yankees. It did get close in the end. The Blue Jays did have to win the last game of the season to secure that division. But good stuff all around, and it's going to be. I think this year, in my opinion, I don't know how you guys feel. This feels like the most open. And maybe I said that last year too. Outside of the Dodgers last year, like there's not really a team in the AL that really sticks out to me as like, yes, definite favorites here. NL, I think maybe you could make a little bit more of a case, but I think it can, come down to anybody can win this thing again. I don't know how we want to do this. Do we want to just go? We'll go through our brackets one by one,
I
I
think
guess.
Bobby should decide the order of who reads their bracket first. He knows what they look like, so he knows what would be the most dramatic order.
You're right. So I think I'm gonna do mine because it's the more homer and conceited one, and probably is gonna leave a lot for discussion. You three have some explaining to do, and I'm not even trying to hype that up. I'm not even kidding. I'm very excited for Will's specifically, but John's got so Will has something that he really has to defend. John really has something he has to defend. Tyler can probably get away with most of what he's saying, but I still want him to talk about some things too. Mine is fairly simple, so we'll do mine real quick. Let me just switch over this graphic here. It is. This should come as no surprise to literally anybody here so far of what I think is going to happen. The only thing that I like kind of went out of my way for was for the Yankees, but that might be a common theme later on. We'll see. So for the most part, I'm just not like the biggest story, I guess. I'm not a Toronto and Milwaukee believer in this, although they are both having some strong showings. I'm not believing that they are finally going to be the ones that are going to strong arm everybody else and get themselves to a title. I do think the Yankees are going to pull a we've been here before, and they're just going to kick the shit out of the Blue Jays when they get to the DS. So I think there's going to be into that. Seattle, I think, is barely going to be the Guardians, because I think the Guardians are going to get through just okay, and the Mariners are just going to squeak them out, then the Yankees are going to do some work there. I think on the NL side, the Dodgers are finally human, and I think the Phillies, if there was ever a chance that wasn't 2023, where a lot of things could line up where they could make this happen, this would be the year. I do think they are barely going to squeak out the Yankees once they get to the World Series. It is not going to be an easy fight for them at all. I'm hoping the setbacks that the Yankees had suffered in the later part of the season continue, and the Phillies get hot at just the right time, although I'm a little scared because they decided to get hot once again right at the end of the regular season. So I don't think they're... That's true. So I don't think there is a lot, but I am ready to defend whatever you want to come at me with on that bracket.
I mean,
did you choose an underdog in any situation?
He chose.
Do what?
Did you choose an underdog in any situation except for the Phillies?
I mean, do you?
Well, I guess all right, the Yankees. All right, fine.
Yeah. I was say, do you consider
because I feel like the Yankees still, because they have the experience. I mean, in the end, the Yankees did finish with tied for the best record in the American League. They just lost the tiebreaker, but in all intents and purposes, they are arguably up right there as the best team just record wise.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that.
I think the Phillies, and I'm not even from like a bias standpoint from you guys. I think most people would agree the Phillies do seem to be the favorite in terms of they have the most complete team. So it's hard to root against them. I think they kind of get the short end of the stick drawing potentially the Dodgers and the DS just because of what we know that they can do. But, I think that like if they get through that matchup, I have a lot more faith in them, like to beat a Cubs, Padres, or Brewers team and then get to the World Series. But I think it might be a homer pick, but for me, I mean, the Phillies are obviously strong contenders, and despite the Zach Wheeler injury and the ups and downs of Nola this year, I think they still have they have the best lineup in baseball right now.
I need more people to be talking about Christopher Sanchez going into this postseason, please. For some reason it is just being like not discussed. Like all the articles I've seen so far are just talking about how much of a loss losing Wheeler, losing Alvarado is, and I'm not gonna lie, those are big losses. Losing Alvarado was one thing, losing Wheeler is a completely different thing, and it definitely has me worried. But holy fuck. We have such a dominant pitcher because for Sanchez right now that I'm not worried about the pitching as I feel like I should be, but I'm gonna just hope that stays the way. I am more concerned about the bats more than anything else. But again, me and Will were talking about this before the show. If there was any other year that wasn't 2023, because 2023 was absolutely the year that it should have happened. But for me, this is definitely the year where they can pull something out of a hat here. So this, to me, is going to be the year for them. I hope to God it is, because I'm going to be pissed if it isn't. I'm going to be really mad.
I've asked this question to you guys probably 3 or 4 times this season, but now that we're here, having seen them the last 3 weeks of the season, any concerns that we're going to see a repeat of 2024 for the Phils?
Yes. It finished very... So
getting the Dodgers kind of guarantees.
Well, so I'll say happen. This stat now instead of saying it later. When I did I do my prediction, this was something I pulled off of something Jason Stark said on Facebook. Teams that have clinched their division by 9 games within the last 10 years, there have been 19 teams. 6 of those 19 teams went on to the World Series. I don't remember what the number was, how many won. Of the other 13 teams, only 2 of those teams won a series. Both of those times it happened in the wild card round. So that means that 11 out of 19 teams have lost in the division series after clinching. So with such a big lead. And that is, I think, exactly what happened with the Braves once, if not both years, when the Phillies beat them. So, and the Phillies did end in a somewhat similar fashion to last year. The only difference was we've won more games within the last 2 weeks than we did last year, but the offense was shutting it down late. And so with the time off, there's, of course, a little concern that it's going to happen again.
I think the good thing is...
Just a reminder that the Phillies, a lot of the reason why they clinched so early was because of the Mets falling apart more than it was the Phillies actually winning so many more games than they were losing.
And the thing that I think helps the Phillies a little bit against the majority of that stat I just read is it's not a complete situation where they clinched with more than 9 games before the season ended, and that was kind of it. They were still fighting for something for another week plus. So it wasn't just we're in it and we're kind of dialing back. They were fighting pretty much until the end of that Marlins series for the number 1 seed. And even for a week right after the clinch, they were still trying to get the bye and stay above the Dodgers. So there is that, but yes, I mean, people will say there's still questions, arguably, about the bullpen. It popped up a bit recently, and the fact that We don't know yet what the Phillies will do, or how they'll handle a bye a second time, especially when it sounds like Thompson has said that he's basically running back the method of last year. The only difference is they're allowing a boatload of fans in for the inter squad game, and right now it's over like 24,000 people.
Yeah, someone was asking Tom McCarthy on Twitter if they were streaming it. And
yeah, I was curious about that.
The current plan, according to him, is apparently no. Yeah. But we'll see, I guess.
Maybe something that's just limited to NBC Sports Philly, like app or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say before was,
sorry, Ty.
Like, I think it's one thing that to clinch a division so early. Sorry, I am a baseball podcast guy, but there's a game on. Tyreek Hill just got carted off the field, so I was trying to figure out what's happening on there. Yeah.
Hello.
But I think it's one thing to clinch so early or feel like you have the division on lock and kind of ease their foot down. They went 17-8 in September, had the third best record in baseball over that time. So I think that if not saying that in years past that they've really shut it down and then got smacked in the mouth in the playoffs, but they're doing everything right into getting there to avoid this potential trap that they fall into. So again, I think the Phillies are going to be a popular pick for a lot of people. They're the most rounded team, I believe. And again, they will definitely be favored by a lot of pundits. But you can pull up whoever you want next between. Yep. By the way, I want to before we get to Will's right before we get it, I want to guess what he's got going on.
Well, here's my worry. Bobby goes to mine. I have a whole thing to read. I'll literally cue him when I want my graphic up.
Okay. Well, I am worried that we're all going to have the same picks.
No, we're not.
For a certain aspect.
You don't have to worry about a goddamn thing.
Thank God
sir.
We have a year where we're actually different. It's not like
there's a couple of things that are the same, but there is certainly some dissension on a couple of topics here. So, all right, Tyler, you are up, sir.
Okay.
All right.
My philosophy with these picks this postseason is a lot of the times I go off straight facts and trends. This was completely off fields, okay? Because facts and trends for me never work out. So this is completely off the fields. And I have the Yankees and the Dodgers back in a rematch in the World Series with the Yankees edging this one out. I'm going to say this now, and I feel like pretty decent about my word on this. I think whoever wins the Red Sox-Yankees series is going to win the World Series. That is like my bold claim. If the Red Sox come out of that, I think the Red Sox are winning the World Series. Whoever comes out of that series is winning it. I think both teams will match up well against Toronto. They'll play. I think both of those teams I kind of like more than Seattle and definitely Cleveland. And then at that point, they're rolling into the postseason. I will say the top part of the AL bracket was a little bit tough. Tigers were not even in consideration for me. They've been so bad the past month that I have the Guardians going through. I almost wanted to pick the Guardians, and that was the toughest matchup for me to pick was that one. The Guardians beat the Mariners beating the Guardians. But I just think the Guardians offense is too bad that when they're playing a really good team like Seattle, it's going to be a little bit lackluster. I've said about the Blue Jays, they've had a great year and they had the best, record in the AL. But at the same time, I still just don't believe in that team to the same way I do with a Yankees or a Red Sox. On the NL side, I again, purely off of how I see things in the past until I'm shown otherwise, I think the Dodgers are just going to find a way in the postseason to excel and to get through and be the representative in the World Series. I think I might be manifesting something here because you know how much I love I talk about it all the time. Dodgers, Padres. Give it to me as the NLDS once again. I'm manifesting it. I really think, again, similar to how I feel with the Yankees and Red Sox, that Cubs-Padres series, a lot of it has to do with my lack of faith in Milwaukee, but I really think they're going to upset Milwaukee in that series and then have obviously a great chance at the World Series, either facing the Phillies or the Dodgers. Dodgers in this case for me. And again, I think just past experience, the Dodgers always being clutch, finding their way into the playoffs, playing well in the playoffs. And the Yankees have been playing really well the past month or so. And you know, you got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, they lost Garrett Cole, of course, to start the year. They've had a lot of ups and downs, but they have solidified themselves as a definite, you know, contender in this.
Oh, breaking news, folks.
Oh,
Bruce Bochy out as the Rangers manager.
yeah, it's on. I
That's
thought that.
irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still breaking news.
We're gonna go by that fact. What are your thoughts of
There was
Bob
a million
Melvin?
coaches fired today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Rocco
no.
Baldelli. You know, if that was a postseason manager, that'd be interesting.
Rob
Yeah,
Thompson
yeah.
has been fired heading into the playoffs. But
yeah,
no,
just heading into the playoffs.
again, my picks are there's not a lot of basis behind them other than I really believe in sports. Until I see otherwise, I'm going to continue to believe it. Give me the Dodgers, the Yankees World Series. Yankees come out on top. And for all the shit I gave the Yankees in preseason about how they're going to miss the playoffs and this and that, I now have them winning it. So, you know, any questions, any comments, concerns?
The only thing I will say is I don't agree necessarily with the fact of what you said that whoever comes out of that Red Sox Yankee series automatically you think is going to be the World Series winner, because I really don't have faith in the Red Sox making it long term. I think the longest they could make it is the ALCS. I will say though, I do think they're an early favorite to say for next year when they're back fully healthy, and they're going to probably make a big move or two in the offseason to work somewhere pitching wise, probably in the bullpen or whatever. So I do have faith that after this is the start of something big that's coming. But I think with the Roman Anthony injury and in general, just the pitching was good. The offense is kind of fallen back from what it was to start the season. And because of that, I don't know if I would say the Blue Jays or the Mariners, but I think both I could easily see kind of knocking them out.
I don't know. To me, again, I'm not convinced by the Blue Jays and Mariners. Maybe that's past history. And you know what? I'm pretty sure my World Series prediction in the preseason was Red Sox Dodgers, which I really wanted to.
Padres.
I
know you did
can't
say
remember.
Red Sox. That's a big
But,
one.
so I wanted it to be the Red Sox. I do think Giolito is out for what would be a potential game 3. I think that's huge because then they're going to be relying on basically the rookie pitcher to pitch game 3 if it goes there, and that's a little bit scary. As much as I wanted it to be those two, put the Red Sox through, I think right now the Yankees are just so hot right now and playing so well, and again, I think they're the team that beat in the AL. I do. So there you go. There you have it.
Well, I guess I'm next.
It's a
Yes, you.
That's
you
up to
absolutely
Bobby.
are. No, he absolutely is.
He's saving me for last.
Yes,
I
I
know it.
am.
All the hype,
All
you
right.
better be last.
the Orioles aren't
That's
on
up
this
to producer.
bracket.
This crazy.
We can't do an Orioles to the finals. Oh, here we
Alright.
go. The Phillies.
Year
I mean,
after
you-
year, I've always said this is going to be the World Series matchup, and year after year, it didn't work out.
All right. You said that I had explaining to you do. I'll start with the easy one. The Tigers, you guys have no momentum. You were coming into this ice cold. I'm sorry. You're done in 2. I also have the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees in the wild card series. And
In
going
Yankee Stadium.
Yes, and going straight on to Toronto. Then I, as good as the Guardians pitching is, Seattle's is honestly just as good, if not better, in terms of ERA. They are second in the American League in the month of September. Walks, they actually have less walks than Cleveland, and then strikeouts per 9 and base on balls per 9. They actually have the Guardians beat in both of those. So I think their pitching is better. Obviously, we know their offense is better, so I think overall Seattle takes that series and goes on to the championship series. Of batting average against, that and errors were the big reasons why I picked Seattle to beat Boston here. Seattle has a better batting average against with 225 this month, and Boston 242 this month. And errors, the Red Sox this season have committed 116 errors, and Seattle has geez, they have had 69 errors
Nice.
this season. That's a big margin, and I think the Red Sox, their youth is only going to take them so far. Them being hot is only going to take them so far. I have Seattle representing the American League in the World Series. The Reds, I think they're just happy to be there. They'll be done in two. Um, in terms of evenness, I don't think that the Cubs Padres could get any better when we talk about even. Their batting averages are close at 254 with San Diego and 249 for this month with Chicago. San Diego's on base percentage of 313 and Chicago's with 324 is close. The OPS 723 for San Diego and 762 for Chicago. So I would say that's pretty close with Chicago getting the edge there. As far as pitching is concerned, I actually have their numbers this month. Chicago comes out better on all fronts, especially in walks, where San Diego has 86 walks this month and Chicago has 50. And I am a firm believer in momentum going into the postseason, and also it's a factor of who will make the mistakes to go into to who will make the least amount of mistakes to take them to the next round. And looking at these matchups, I definitely think that Chicago will make the least amount of mistakes in that wild card series. Moving on to the next one, the Brewers, their ERA for the month is worse than Chicago's. Their walks are worse than Chicago's. They have 962 to 904 for strikeouts over 9, walks over 9. Chicago is actually better with 204 to 338, which I think is much better. Overall, what it came down to that series for me is the batting average against 212 to 222. Like I said, limiting your mistakes. Limiting your mistakes is the key here for the Cubs to move on to the NLCS. Going back to the Phillies and Dodgers, as good as the Dodgers pitching is, they will give up walks. They have given up 101 walks this month alone. They are a base on balls per 9. They have a 405 average there. While they do have an 1135 compared to Philly's 864 for strikeouts per 9. Overall, I think that as long as the Phillies lineup is patient, which I think they could be with how good this offense is, I definitely think that they can and they will take it to the Dodgers in that one. And I could see that going 4. I could see it going 5, but I definitely see the Phillies coming out on that one. And then overall, I think that the Phillies are just a better team in that NLCS matchup between Chicago and Philly. That offense is scary. The batting average against is higher for Philly than it is for Chicago. However, like I said, that offense I think is just going to be. I think that lineup is just going to be scary, regardless of how the pitching shakes out. Now, I had this one. It was real tough. It was really, really tough between Seattle and Philly here in the World Series. I could not have picked closer teams to the numbers if I tried over the past month. ultimately, I went with the postseason experience. Ultimately, I went with, uh, you know, I went with the Philly crowd here, being quite the influence on Seattle. Seattle, you make it to the World Series, congratulations, but you don't have enough to get over the hump to winning it all. I'm giving the Phillies their third World Series.
I think that I could see it. I mean, is there any concern that, Will picks this matchup every year and it never happens? Like,
No, that doesn't concern me because I don't pick
I
every
think
year.
literally for the past like 2 or 3 years, I've had the same matchup in the World Series, no matter how I look. Like I know because it's always been picking the Phillies. I always had faith, and then there's the Mariners, which I've always felt like we're a good team, and they could be the sneaky team that gets in.
yeah, they're a nice shiny team.
What's the law of averages? Eventually, you'll be correct.
Something like that. Yeah, I think the
Did,
Cubs.
did I give a good explanation, Bobby?
You have a very
mindset.
thorough explanation.
Well, Tyler helped. I didn't expect him to alley-oop that Red Sox thing when he was talking about like, oh, whoever wins that will win the World Series. I'm like, well, man, funny you should mention that because John basically has them getting just short of it, which I didn't expect anybody to actually do. So I was curious what the explanation was going to be.
Honestly, I think that overall they are better than the Yankees. While the Yankees do have a really good offense, as far as average is concerned, batting average, Boston has them beat out. Boston is close to them with on base percentage, and they have them. They are just below them in OPS. It, Ultimately, I think that offense in that stadium, in that bandbox of a stadium, that really comes down to pitching, and comes down to mistakes. And I think the Yankees overall will make more mistakes than the Red Sox in that series.
I don't think it's going to come down to this in the slightest, but it would be nice to see that series reignite that rivalry a little bit. I'm not talking like it's going to reignite it to the 20 or 2000s Red Sox Yankees series, but it would be cool to like get some fire in that series, and bring it back. But yeah, good predictions. And now this
All
is
right.
going to be
Main event.
the
Hold
main
back,
event.
Bobby.
All right,
I'll tell you when I'll need stuff.
So here's
Copy.
here's my prediction. This is my prediction.
Yeah.
I think this stupid fuck is gonna have the Tigers and the Cubs in the World Series. That's my prediction.
No. You're completely wrong. I think he's going to pick both Philly and Cleveland in the World Series.
All I'm gonna say, one of you is half right.
You definitely have the Cubs in the World Series.
So
that's my prediction.
I
You
have a whole
love
document I'm
offense.
reading off of this.
You love offense and you love runs, and they score runs. That's all I'm saying.
So I basically try to do my prediction this year based on trends as much as possible. My initial inkling will always be that the Phillies can win it all. And I still think they have a very strong chance this year. But I know and knew going into doing these stats that there were certain recent trends that I had been looking at within the last few weeks pertaining to previous World Series winners that they just did not fall into the category of. So I figured I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to do this year purely based on what the numbers are telling me. And then I'm kind of going to mold in everything around the rest. So I honestly worked kind of backwards where instead of going series by series and seeing how it went, I picked a winner and then thought, how am I going to make this work?
Yep.
So it is backwards thinking. But also, we've said, given the way that this team's looked this year, anything's up for grabs. So I figured unless I pick something like, say, the Tigers in the World Series, it'd be fairly believable.
You look at Bobby's smug face. I called this shit.
So for starters, these trends that I'm referring to are not about recent hot streaks or who has performed well over the last month, though they could very well be somewhat a part of it. These are more so based on certain stats I looked up within the last like 10 to 15 years, basically since the wild card round started as a thing back in 2012. So I would say 2022, but you can't really go too much off of stats that have happened in the last
small of a
4
sample
years.
size.
Yeah, right, just a small sample size. So for starters, I racked up a short list of these trends, usually either looked at within the top 3 within a league in a certain category or top 10 in baseball as a whole thing. kept it mainly offense, like you said, because that's the one that seems to somewhat point at potential World Series favorites. Pitching is all over the place. There was only one little obscure one that I threw in there just so it looked like I looked at pitching, but it seemed like pitching's the one stat that when it comes to as a team, as long as you aren't like the Rockies or like the Angels and their bullpen, as long as you've decent enough, it can step up. So the different trends that I was looking at, or at least that I noticed, where the World Series winner has not led the MLB in runs scored for the second half of the season since 2013.
Cool,
but
so
they have always
not winning.
They have always finished in the top 10 in the second half every year since 2012, except in 2023. Rangers finished 11th. World Series winner was in the top 10 in runs scored in MLB every year since 2015, and the World Series winner finished in the top 3 in their specific league in runs scored in every year since 2016. World Series winner finished in the top 10 in home runs in MLB every year since 2017, except 2019. Fuck the Nats. World Series winner had more than 200 home runs as a team in every year since 2017, except 2020. But the Dodgers that year were on pace where if it was a full season, they would have more than 200 home runs. The World Series winner finished in the top 10 in OPS and MLB every year since 2015. The World Series winner has finished in the top 10 in win probability adjusted. Yes, I went out of my way a little bit. Every year since the wild card round started, except for 2021.
This man hates war, but he's going to use win probability adjusted.
I figured win probability would be an interesting thing to see how accurate. Like, all right, you know what? What is the probability?
It's a WAPA. It's a WAPA.
And then the little obscure pitching fact I threw in there just cause was that the World Series winner has not finished in the top 3 in MLB in strikeouts in every year since 2018.
All that to be said, also, this shit better
still
be
a few
good.
other things.
Who the hell does that leave in this postseason?
You're
ready? I still got more stuff. The team with the best record in baseball since 2012 that's either gone on to win the World Series or has lost in the NLDS or ALDS. And then the World Series winner was in the top 3 in MLB and run differential every year since 2014. And so I got all that to narrow down to one team that fit in actually every category. And that's the Yankees.
Oh, okay.
So the Yankees fit into every category. And now you did call the Cubs right. The question is going to come, though, is that top right one.
Now,
so I'm going to start with that because I think hold on. I'm just going to start with that because I think that's the easiest one to explain based on what I said to about trends. I'm going to continue the ride the hot hand that is the number 6 NL seed because every year it has been World Series, NLCS. And right now the Reds have actually performed pretty well over their last couple series, winning 6 of 7 against playoff teams. And so I'm like, you know what? They have good pitching. They have Terry Francona. They are the number 6 seed. And I know at some point I still feel like the Dodgers are going to crap out. Let's keep the trend going. But also, to like I said, my backwards thinking of this, of the Phillies' opponents, oddly enough, that I feel like they could be facing, the one that I feel like there's the most chance I see them losing to is the Reds. Because, one, I don't know if I necessarily think that they will play up to competition. Like if you give them I should say they're going to play down to their competition. Meaning I think if you give them the Dodgers, there's going to be a little fire that goes in them that they would be able to compete with them and beat them. Whereas the Reds won, it was either 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 in Cincinnati the last time they met. And the Reds have really good pitching right now. And the way the Phillies ended the season, I didn't love how the offense was starting to trend over the last 5 games or so. So I'm like, yes, they won games and the pitching looks great, but based on they don't fit into the offensive trend and what's happened based on what I said, Jason Stark said earlier over the last 10 seasons. If I don't see them getting to the World Series, they might just be losing again in the NLDS. And I honestly would have them beat any team that gets represented in the American League. So I gave the Reds an extra round. On the bottom half of that same side, like you said with the Cubs, yes, I do like the offense. That's always going to, when it comes to these stats. And so therefore, the fact that the Padres are playing the Cubs in Chicago, the Padres do not have a good road record this season. I feel like the Cubs, while they have been inconsistent at times over the last couple of weeks, their offense, even during losses, has still shown that it can be there. And I feel like it will rise up to the occasion in their home park. And then versus the Brewers have not been necessarily the greatest team over the last month and a half. Ever since they finished their 14-game winning streak to start August, they've been 19-21. And they just lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds. They started this losing trend by playing like 4 or 5 games versus the Cubs, and the Cubs won the series. So I think the Cubs will continue that, and the Brewers are just going to miss out again. I think one thing that also benefits the Cubs is they have the best whip, or like one of the best whips in both National League and baseball. And the 2 teams that they are slated to face on that side are not necessarily the best home run hitting teams in baseball. And that's really how the Cubs pitching has faltered. They're 8th in baseball in home runs allowed per 9 innings, and it's the 3rd worst in the National League. So facing 2 teams that don't get lots of home runs, I feel like they can somewhat limit the base runners. And then when you put a Cubs-Reds matchup, I know that the Reds just did a 4-game sweep of the Cubs. I am chalking a lot of that up on the Cubs side of it to a hangover travel, because they had just clinched getting into the postseason, and then they go to Cincinnati, and Cincinnati was fighting for something. Plus, with the time off, I think that's a whole new scenario. And again, Cubs offense, I see, will outduel a bullpen such as the Cubs Cubs such as the Reds that has done well recently in the second half. But again, a team that does not do too much offensively. And on the American League side, I don't feel like I have that much explaining to you, seeing except for John's bracket, we've all had the exact same picks. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory to say how my American League side is gone. And I picked the Yankees over the Mariners purely just because I think, other than what the number said, I do agree that the Yankees offense, I think, would overtake the Mariners in that situation. And then when it's a Yankees-Cubs matchup in the World Series, I feel like the Yankees take that in 5.
I got a few things to say.
So,
well, the one last thing I will say that I thought of is it's really poetic to me that Juan Soto signs with the Mets, misses the postseason, and the Yankees win. It'll be literally mirroring what Bryce Harper did going to the Phillies, and then the Nationals winning the World Series.
So hold on, Tyler. Before you do your thing, I just have one question, just one question only here. So when you've been playing Phasmophobia a lot, when did you summon Pete Rose to take over your fucking body to make that pick with Cincinnati? I need to know that answer.
I am purely going off of the trends thing, like I said, and I'm just gonna ride that hot number 6 seed until it fails.
Jesus Christ, dude, I read that at 7:00 this morning and near jumped out of my fucking chair. I
did have it going 3 games, so it wasn't a sweep. I can give you that much.
I was okay with you not picking the Phillies, like in your predictions. I kind of expected you to do that. That's just certainly not what I expected, and I'm just like, he has got 3 other people that he's got to fight with here. So good luck to you.
Like I said, just trying to justify the different stats and trends I was seeing. I was trying to make a narrative out of it, and this is at least one that there is evidence that something like this has somewhat the capability of unfolding. Plus, the 2023 postseason, I know we've said that from the Phillies standpoint, but just looking at like who was in the World Series, kind of flipped a lot of stuff. I mean, other than the Rangers for like 2/3 of that season or something had like the best offense in baseball. But the pitching wasn't as good and they fell out eventually from the division late. But the Diamondbacks were just completely out of the blue. Like they were very much like the Reds. They kind of snuck in with like an 84 win record. And then they were 500 for the second half and they just kept winning. Like they crushed the Dodgers. They beat the Phillies, surprise, which yeah, never. But the World Series is where they met their match. Like there's something about that number 6 seed for now. We know Terry Francona has done it, and we know the Reds bullpen right now has been strong. I mean, the only thing will be is just that the Dodgers pitching has done very well in the second half, and they have really started to step it up a bit in September. Is that the one thing that could be the kryptonite for the Dodgers is if, Dave Roberts is Dave Roberts things and he goes to the bullpen too much, because that's going to be what eventually kills the Dodgers.
Snell's going to shake them off again.
No matter which team offs the Dodgers, and if the Dodgers win the World Series again, then I really hope that there's a strike that lasts forever after 26, so we don't have to see the Dodgers anymore. But I mean, the bullpen just seems like it's such an abomination right now that it's gonna be the death of them at some point. They give up way too many runs.
I will give you this: that ALCS that you have will be one offensively that I think will just be a monster, a must TV for any baseball fan, because you couldn't have picked more even teams in terms of stats.
I think the American League side kind of tells itself for the most part. I mean,
I agree with that.
We've said what we said about the Tigers. If they win, it's purely because
dude,
Guardians ran out of luck. That there's no reason the Tigers should win.
When you said one of us got half right, I was like, all right, I know the Cubs are in the World Series, but I swear to God, if I see the Tigers in the ALCS, I'm flipping the fucking table.
I did not. No, I was no. That one was pure enough as just my eye. I don't. This is where the StatCast people are like. I read something earlier that was like giving the comparison position by position Tigers and Guardians, and at the very end when it gives the prediction was like, I'm kind of a guy that believes that your luck runs out and the Guardians have won 3 or 4 straight series, and I'm like, are you an idiot? That's the StatCast problem of people that look too much at the numbers, and then there's a combination of looking at your eyes. Now I can understand that the verse on that on me is my pick with the Reds and the Dodgers, but like I said, I'm just trying to pick a scenario where the Yankees win the World Series and follow makes sense based on the numbers I'm seeing. Yeah. And so therefore I'm like, I do believe the Yankees are the definite favorite in the American League. I don't think it's even close. Obviously the closest is really the Mariners, but I think it's just they're gonna find a team that just outslugs them, and the Yankees starting pitching has done really well recently. And I do think, I know the trades have not worked out, but they have an ideal staff in the bullpen that you could easily see kind of step up where it needs to now that it matters. Now, granted, don't have Devin Williams pitch ever, but otherwise, I will say this: if Devin Williams wins a World Series, then we know that the issue is the Brewers and not him.
I off on a tangent. Is there ever been a number 1 seed with less hype than the Blue Jays? It's not even just us. Nobody.
Well, that was gonna be a question I asked. Why did you guys not pick the Blue Jays? I know I didn't pick them because of their stats.
Their pitching stinks still, especially the rotation. Their starting rotation now is, but I think it's mainly experience is probably where it's going to come from. I know they just hit a boatload of runs to end their season, but the only way I'd see them winning is against the Red Sox, because I do think that even with the Red Sox pitching, they'll be good enough. Though, I could easily that one's enough that I could be persuaded to go the other way. But just the Yankees, I feel like, as much as I hate it, they are built more and more like how people view the new baseball team should be built with. You built for power, you built for home runs, errors, strikeouts, average. They're all kind of secondary, tertiary and stuff. And Giancarlo Stanton, I think, is going to be a huge piece. The fact that he's had the season he's had, and he tends to have a good postseason.
He did last year.
Aaron Judge, before at least game 3 or whatever of the World Series, did not have a good postseason, and had not prior to that. He may have found something where he can do better, But even if he didn't, I think the fact that you have someone that is kind of looking like they can be that offensive replacement, at least for Judge, and now you have Bellinger who has postseason experience. You have this team that did it last year and already has kind of that taste and knows what they need to do. And they did it with a bye last year.
Yeah.
So
I will say,
I do think it's set up well for them.
If your bracket does come to life, there's going to be a bigger discussion to be had because that would be 3 of the 4 teams with a bye are out, which that's going to
that was the
create
thing
a
that
whole
I thought was
discussion.
crazy. Well, and it's been trending in the opposite way because last year 3 of the 4 won. The only one that didn't were the Phillies. So, I mean, there's two. I was gonna say there's 2 situations to me that stand out as where it's very possible that the underdog wins, and that's in a Yankees Blue Jays situation or Dodgers Phillies. Everything else I think is possible, but it definitely weighs more towards the number 1 seed than the other way around, or being 50-50. So I don't, at this point though, I think it's not even based on the bye. It's purely how teams like mentality are, or how the players' mentalities are going into these off days and how they're able to attack coming out of it. And so, I mean, for the Mariners, they get the bye and they win. For the Blue Jays, I think they're overmatched. Same goes with the Brewers, that just have not played as well over the last month and a half, and they have not shown the recent success in the postseason, as they haven't won a series, I think, since 2018. And the Phillies, I think it's more of just they tend to be a bit trendier of a team, and they've been able to kind of scrap their way when they're facing tough competition over this last month. That's part of the reason why they've been having such a good record, as they won the series in Milwaukee and they won the series in LA. And that's why if they were paired up with someone like the Reds, who they didn't do as well, does have good pitching, and the way the Phillies ended the season offensively, I'm like, there's enough doubt there that I could see them falling out again.
Yeah, I there's a lot of questions I had. We've kind of already gone over. I will say there's a lot of people that think the Reds are taking a trip to LA before their destination vacation to Cancun. To have them make the championship, it's crazy. And you know what? Maybe the only reason I won't agree with you on that is because I was pretty firm, and I think this is 2 years in a row. I was pretty firm that there is not a chance that more than one NL Central team makes the playoffs. So 3 of them made the playoffs this year. Like,
just out of spite.
Like,
and one
really
team from the NL East.
Yep, and completely opposite. So for me, it's just hard to see. I don't know, man. If you're the Reds and you do that, and then like you beat the Dodgers and the Phillies, and then lose to a division rival in the NLCS, I think that hurts more than getting bounced in 2 games.
Hey, we've already said the Reds are playing with house money right now. Like, I mean, but we've always talked about how Terry Francona he's the man, having the right manager, right? And so, I mean, to a point, you got to also be like, yes, were we wrong about the division short? Were we expecting a little much? Maybe. I mean, our win total wasn't, I feel like, that far off in the end.
No, I had the Reds with like 85 wins and winning the division.
Right. And then one had 84. So it really just shows that they could be the sneaky team because no one's really expecting them.
Yeah.
I do think how they played Milwaukee, though, it does say a lot kind of what they can do. And regardless of the hangover series or not versus the Cubs, the fact that they've won 6 of 7 against, again, they were in a division, but still teams that are in the playoffs, I think does say a lot kind of in what their demeanor is right now and how they're approaching these games.
Yeah, what do the Tigers have to do, guys, to change all of our minds and actually win?
Play like they did in May.
Pitch, hit, play like a baseball team.
Scooble has to start every game.
Well, I will tell you this right now. In the month of September, they are dead last in every category in the American League throughout the field. There's no way I see them making a turnaround.
I mean, I think this is what Will's saying because there is like, and this is a whole sports debate in general, but I think people get sick of all the stat nerds, and then people are like, well, you need stats. There is a middle ground, and this is one of those things where, just eye test. The Tigers don't have a chance right now, and stats wise as well. And the past, however long it's been with them where they've been struggling, it looks like they just don't have a chance in the slightest. And I think there's a middle ground to say, yeah, like they're and against a Guardians team who can't find offense, I think it's still going to be an uphill battle for them. So, yeah, I think the Tigers will be tough. I mean, I feel like we don't really have to talk much about the Brewers. We all picked the Brewers to lose, but I think it's just the stigma with them, man. Like I really think
They
it
have
is,
not
so.
been a good team for the last month and a half.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't. There's some questions potentially now. I think with the starting rotation, and they just have not held their own against the playoff teams during that stretch. They've had 17 games against teams in the playoffs since their winning streak ended, and they're 7-10.
Yeah.
Like they're just not being able to play up to the level that we feel like they should be. They've been able to dominate bad teams, but they're not reaching 500 against the good teams.
Yeah, and is
the Brewers manager managing for his job? You think?
I don't. I think it's really with them, and it's so funny because we're kind of taking back everything we said because a month ago or whatever we were like, man, this is the most complete team in baseball, but how the tides can change so fast, and they just don't. They felt like they had a mojo about them that I don't feel like they have anymore, and I'm telling you, man, I just think that uncertainty is going to creep in when if they lose game one of that first series and then all the questions are going to come back. And, for me, like, that's the thing with the Brewers. Like, until they show me that they can win a series in the postseason, I'm going to pick against them. But I think
they need a matchup like the Tigers. That's like the situation for them.
Look, this is what we have to do now. I mean, we have to. We're in our preseason predictions. We got to have the Brewers winning it, and we have to have them out in the first round because we always think it's going to be different, and it always comes down to this. So that has to be the constant here.
Well, the only reason I would have them out in the first round is because they're automatically in the second round.
Well, you know what I mean. but still, was there anything else we wanted to add? I mean, I was gonna start the show talking about the Mets collapse, but I don't even think it's worth it. At this point,
here, let me help.
Oh God! That's
fuck you.
All right.
And then we went from a PG show to a PG-13, just like that.
We've dropped more than one F-bomb. We're up to R.
Great.
I'm sorry, Mets fans, and the worst part about it,
I'm not.
Oh, the worst part about it for them is Alonso not even half hour after the game's like, yeah, I'm going, homie. Like,
he's like, I'm done with this.
Harper's ready to go back in the outfield.
He's gonna go to the Yankees.
Dude, I'm telling you,
if he goes to the Yankees, I swear.
Well, it makes so much more.
Middle finger.
It makes so much sense that the Yankees would win after losing Soto. That would make so
poetic.
Much sense.
Like I said, it happened exactly with Harper, and it would be so poetic.
Yeah. You guys can let us know what you think in the comments and about our brackets, or don't.
Give me the hate. I'm used to getting the hate.
We can't tell you what to do.
But I want to say I am curious because, I felt, especially with Will's bracket going a little bit off the pace, but I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Phillies. A lot of people probably picking the Mariners, but I don't know, man. I definitely have my questions about this, and it's going to be fun. We are here, though, and that's the fun part. We are recording this on September 29th, so the postseason starts tomorrow. That should be a lot of fun. That laugh, I'm
reading Stephen Cohen's statement for like the fifth time.
Guys, we spent all this money. We didn't even make it. I'm sorry.
Literally what he said.
Oh man!
So
that's one manager that did not get fired.
Somehow.
I don't know how you don't. I mean, Alex Cora, I think, is another manager that
Oh, I know
could.
how you don't. It wasn't
You
his
can
fault.
make the argument.
But yeah, I mean, my goodness. Anyway, you can
Bring
follow
back
us
Jose Iglesias
on Twitter at BL_breakdowns, big league breakdowns everywhere else. Make sure to like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel for more. Like I said, leave those comments about what you think the postseason is going to look like, and we will see you next time.
Wear your seatbelt.
Fuck the fence!